Okay, once again, welcome everyone. My name is Shirlene McDonald. I am a director in the financial aid office, and this evening I want to go through just a few slides to help you understand the financial aid process here at American, and to provide you with an opportunity to ask questions. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat. At the end of our session, we'll go ahead and answer those questions for you. And so without further delay, let me go ahead and see if I can. There we go. I just introduced myself. I'm Shirlene McDonald. I'm a director in the financial aid office. Today, we're going to cover how to get a hold of our office. Super important. Everyone in the financial aid office has an assigned financial aid. Everyone at American University has an assigned financial aid counselor. There are some very important things that you need to remember in order to retain your aid. We'll talk a bit about those things and then talk about the requirements and then specifically what you should do right now. And then finally, talk a bit about what the entire financial aid process looks like, beginning in the summer all the way through the end of spring of next year. And so to find your financial aid counselor, head on over to our main financial aid page, which is american.edu and then /financial aid, all one word. And then select the contact us option on the left navigation menu. From there, on the main screen, it's going to invite you to select the first letter or couple letters of your last name in order for you to determine who your assigned counselor is. You'll see their direct telephone number. And then we also use technology so that even when you are emailing financial aid at american.edu, it will understand and verify your email address, assuming that you're using your AU issued email address, and it will send your inquiry directly to your assigned financial aid counselor. So even though it appears that you're sending it to a general box, it actually is funneling your inquiry directly to your financial aid counselor. And so feel confident that by emailing financial aid at american.edu, that your inquiry will be responded usually within the same business day, but no more than 2 business days. So keep that in mind. So things to remember. We don't spam you. If we're contacting you, that means we need something from you, or there's some very important information that we need you to pay attention to. So be sure to read all things that come from the financial aid office. We will be sending everything to your student AU email account. So we're not going to send it to whatever private or personal email that you have. AU has now issued you an email address, and all official correspondence will be going to that email address. So be sure to check it. Really important. If you are receiving need-based financial aid, so any grant money from the American University or from the federal government, any loans, any work study, you will need to complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, by the 1st of May every year. So in order to have your aid reevaluated and renewed, you need to make sure that you reapply by May 1 every year. Lastly, those of you that have been awarded federal work study, those awards are given to students who, 1, find a job, and 2, you'll receive payment in the form of a paycheck at the end of every pay period for the hours that you work. Those funds, the money that you earn through work, will not be applied to your bill. So it is really to help you cover all those other expenses that don't necessarily appear on your bill. How do you retain your financial aid? You have to be a full-time student in order to keep your funding. Full-time means that you have to remain continuously enrolled in at least 12 credits every single semester. You cannot drop below 12. If you do, you'll jeopardize your aid for that semester. And the academic year actually consists of the fall and spring semester. Summer is considered an elective term unless you're in a 3-year intensive program. All students are required to complete at least 2/3 of all of your attempted credits. That means any credit for which you're enrolled in past the add drop period, which is the first 2 weeks of the semester. So if you've attempted the class, then it will count in this completion calculation. If you're a recipient of a merit scholarship, a dean's, a presidential scholarship, AU District Scholar, any number of scholarships offered by American University, you must maintain a cumulative GPA of 3.0. That means the total calculation of all classes that you've taken between the fall and spring semester, that total calculated GPA or the cumulative GPA for both those semesters has to be at least a 3.0 or better if you're a recipient of a merit scholarship. We will be evaluating at the end of every spring semester your progress to make sure that you are meeting the minimum standards of your award. Now, if you're the recipient of a federal Pell Grant or AU Grant Loans Work Study, and that's all that you've received, then your minimum cumulative GPA requirement is a 2.0. What should you be doing right now? If you haven't already done this, this is super, super, super important. You need to go to the MyAU portal, so myau.american.edu, log in using your AU credentials, and accept or decline your financial aid. If you don't accept your financial aid, or if you haven't accepted your financial aid, when you get a bill in the next week, because bills will be going out the 1st of July, when you get a bill, it'll appear as if you owe the whole amount due. When you accept your financial aid, it will show that the amount that you anticipate receiving for all of the awards that you've accepted as pending aid. That way, it'll be subtracted from the amount due, and you'll only see what remains as your outstanding balance for that semester, right? So really important, make sure that you go to the MyAU portal and accept your aid in order for it to show up as pending so that you'll know exactly what it is that you'll owe as any remaining balance. We have contacted a few families to say, hey, please submit some documents to us so that we can finalize your financial aid. In order to complete that and to actually submit your documents electronically, you can go directly to go.american.edu/verification so that you can upload those documents and they'll be sent directly to us. Don't worry if you don't have anything to write this down. This particular presentation and all of the presentations will be recorded so that you can go back and refer to all of the sites that I've referenced in the presentation. For those of you that have decided that you wanted to borrow your student loan eligibility from the federal government, you will need to complete the master promissory note and the entrance counseling, which incorporates a loan disclosure. All of that can be completed through the federal government site, which is www.studentaid.gov. That's the same site that you used if you applied for need-based aid to complete the free application for federal student aid. That's only required for students that are electing to borrow their student loans, and also for my parents, if you're interested in securing a Parent Plus loan, you can also go to studentaid.gov and select the option to apply for the parent loan for undergraduate students through that website as well. The good news is that we've already started posting jobs for the fall semester. So those of you that have been awarded work study, or for those of you that haven't but want to work in the fall, all of the jobs that we have available are currently posted on the american.edu/student jobs site. And I will tell you throughout the month of July, they'll be putting more positions out there So keep a lookout for positions, and you should probably go ahead and put as a favorite the american.edu/student jobs as one of your tabs, so that you can go back and take a look and see what positions have been posted. All right, so this lovely little graphic here gives you a full idea of the financial aid timeline. So July is just around the corner. That's when the fall bill will be issued. If you accept your aid through the MyAU portal, you'll see it pending as pending aid on your bill, and it will be subtracted from the amount due. So it's super important that you go out there, accept your aid, so that it'll be subtracted from the amount due. In late August, that's when the funds will actually credit to your account. The federal government will not allow us to disperse funds, to pay the money to you until the first day of class. And so just keep that in mind, that funds will not actually physically credit or disperse to your account until late August, right around the first day of class. In September, we'll send out reminders just to let you know, hey, here are all the things that I've just covered in this presentation that you should do, which is to remain continuously enrolled, to make sure that you're in at least 12 credit hours, for you to understand what the minimum standards are, for you to renew your awards, and to also let you know the federal government promised that they will now have the free application for federal student aid available on October 1st, which is traditionally the date that it has been available. Last year was crazy and was an exception. So they're going to go back to their original timetable and having the FAFSA available on the 1st of October for families to complete for the upcoming academic year. If you are the recipient of need-based aid, that's any grant money from the government or from AU, any loans, any work study, then you need to complete that FAFSA. And we tell our families, once it becomes available, please go ahead and complete it, because quite honestly, it's not asking for the current year tax information. So you'll have all the information you need in order to successfully complete the FAFSA. In December, you will have made it through the first semester, and so you'll be on winter break through December, and you'll come back once again in January, and that's when the second portion of your aid will disperse. So financial aid is dispersed in 2 equal installments. One half will credit in the fall, the other half will credit at the start of the spring semester in January. In March, we in the financial aid office conduct a comprehensive FAFSA campaign. That's our reminder. Hey, for all of you that have need-based financial aid, please complete the FAFSA, because our deadline is May 1 every single year, and it is critically important that you meet that deadline. That way we know that we need to evaluate and to award you your aid. Those that miss the deadline, unfortunately, fall all the way to the end of the line. And so if you don't apply on time and we don't have the funding, it's likely that you'll lose some of your aid. So it's critically important that you meet these deadlines. Something that's different, you'll notice that this year, depending on when you applied for admission to AU, you received your notification of financial aid with your letter of admission, either in January if you applied early, or in March if you applied regular decision. Well, we won't be able to notify you of your aid eligibility for the upcoming year until June. The reason that we won't be able to do that is because the federal government requires all financial aid offices to run an audit and determine whether or not students are meeting the minimum standards of their award. That is called the Satisfactory Academic Progress Review, or SAP. The SAP review can only happen once all of your grades have been submitted, both for the fall and the spring semester. So grades typically are not submitted until, the second week in May. So we have to evaluate all of our students. And so once we are doing that evaluation, we will then be able to notify our students in June of their eligibility for aid for the upcoming year. And then in July, by July 1, everyone will have an award notification, because right around that time, your fall bill will be available for you to view. And so that is an overview of the financial aid process. I know I have covered a lot of information, but I wanted you to know that you do have a financial aid counselor that has been specifically assigned to you. I do see that we have some questions in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see if I can answer some of these questions. So someone had asked me, how do I know if I've received a full ride? You should have received an offer letter with your letter of admission telling you what you're eligible to receive as far as aid. Please contact your financial aid counselor in order to have a better understanding of what your aid covers and how to ensure that you can renew whatever aid that you've received. The question that I have is, will merit scholarships increase if tuition increases? Unfortunately, the merit scholarship that you've received will be the amount of scholarship that you receive year after year after year. It does not increase. And so it is a fixed amount. The next question that I have here. So someone asked a question that I get often, which is, what if you realize that you're not going to make the 3.0 minimum cumulative GPA that's required in a given semester? Is it better to drop the class in order to maintain the 3.0 GPA? Remember, the GPA is cumulative throughout the entire academic year. So both your fall and spring grades will be evaluated at the end of spring to determine whether or not you have met the minimum cumulative GPA of a 3.0, right? So it'll take into account all of the classes that you've taken in a given academic year. And so I tell my students, please work very closely with your academic advisor, your professors, and our office if you think that you're in jeopardy of losing your award. That way we can advise you just kind of based on your personalized circumstances to see what would be the best course of action for you. Can students who didn't receive a merit scholarship upon admission be awarded a scholarship in subsequent years? We do not evaluate, we don't have the capacity to evaluate our students for merit scholarships each year. What we do have are what we call philanthropic gifts. So these are funds given to the university by, friends of AU, donors that want to recognize students, in a particular major or for a particular achievement. And so we will automatically do an evaluation to determine if students have met those minimum standards set forth by the donor. So there isn't anything necessarily that a student will need to do in order to be reevaluated for those donor and philanthropic gifts. However, I have to note that typically these scholarships are small. They range anywhere from, a couple thousand to about $5,000 a year. They're awarded based on the donor's criteria. So let's see here. I'm so sorry. Do you need to accept your aid? Yes. All aid has to be accepted on the portal. And so if you're receiving just a merit scholarship, you do need to go out to the myau.american.edu portal to accept it so that it will show as pending aid on your account and deducted from the amount due. And so for information regarding payment plans, I'm happy to tell you more about it, but my colleague in the AU Central office, which will be presenting today, will be the right session to give you the ins and outs of the payment plan. But a very broad overview is that we have, 3 different payment plans that you can enter into, depending on when you sign up. You can enter into the 5 equal installment payment plans for the semester if you sign up by July 15th. If you sign up by August 15th, you can enter into the 4 payment plans. If you enter by September 15th, you can enter into the 3 equal installment plans. If you want more information, like I said, my colleagues in AU Central will be happy to provide you with all the information that you need to determine which plan works best for you. So the question is, will my aid stay the same year after year? Yes. We tell our students and families, assuming that your financial circumstances stay the same, meaning, that you don't have a sibling that's graduating and graduating from college, or that, your earnings and your parents' financial circumstances stay the same, then you can anticipate receiving the same level of aid year after year. Goodness, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time scrolling through these messages. So in order for you to receive the federal loan, parent loan for undergraduate students, you will need to complete a free application for federal student aid. That's a federal government requirement. So unfortunately, you cannot receive the PLUS loan unless they have a FAFSA on file. And so you will need to submit it in order for you to receive consideration and eligibility for that PLUS loan. Work with your student's financial aid counselor, and they'll be able to help you navigate through that process. So your financial aid, assuming that nothing changes, is the financial aid you can anticipate receiving for that academic year. There's no additional action that students need to take in order for you to get your merit scholarship renewed year after year, so long as you're meeting the minimum standards for the award, which is a cumulative GPA of 3.0 and completion of at least 2/3 of all of your attempted credits. So all jobs, except for 3 categories, are federal work study eligible. So even if it is not marked work study eligible, you can still apply for it. Again, there are jobs that specifically would say not federal work study eligible. It would actually say those words if you can apply. All other positions, you can definitely apply, whether or not it's indicated as a federal work study position or not. So unfortunately, we are running out of time. Please feel free to reach out to your financial aid counselor if I haven't been able to answer your questions during our session. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a good evening.
Moved over, but as usual, Julie and I are happy to move you manually afterwards.